We are on 80B, 4 lines from the bottom. Chodesh Tov. This is the last daf. This is the last daf. This is the last daf of the year. So we're going to do 80B. The daf is Pei Aleph 81 of Kesubos. So we boil it. It is a little bit of a tricky daf. We boil it. The Gemara has the following question: Shomeres Yavam Shemesa. So again, we've been talking about the rights of a Shomeres Yavam. What's a Shomeres Yavam? This is a person who's waiting for her husband's brother to do yibum with her. So she has she has a zika to her husband's brother, but she also has her own rights, and she's not fully married. So Shomeres Yavam Shemesa. So if she dies, mi kovra, who's required to bury her? Do we say Yorshei Habal Kavrila? Do we say that the husband's heirs are required to bury her because she's kind of married to him, kind of married to the Yavam because she's waiting for him to do Yibam. And so do we say they're required to bury her? The Kayarsi Ksuva, because they're the ones who inherit the dowry that she brought in. Odilma Yorshei Av Kavrila, or do we say that the heirs of her family, her father's family, they're the ones who bury her? The Kayarsi Nechasim Anachnosim Vayotzimima, because they inherit what's called the Nichse Mulut property, the property that she brings into the marriage, which she's entitled to take out, but while she's married, her husband gets the fruits, the dividends of that property. So since that goes back to her family, do we say that they have to bury her? So Amarav Amram Tashma. So that's the fundamental question. You had a question, Aaron? So the Gemara says the fundamental question is Tashma the Tanya. Shomeres Yavam Shemesa. Let's say you have a Shomeres Yavam. Let's say you have a Shomeres Yavam that dies. Shomeres Yavam Shemesa. This woman dies, and now we're on top of the 81A. Yorsheha Yorshei Ksuvasa Chayavim B'Kfurasa. So her heirs, the ones who inherit her ksuva, they're obligated to bury her. So we see from here that who's required to bury her? The husband's family is required to bury her because they're the ones who inherit her ksuba. Amar Abai says, indeed, we have a statement that supports this. We learned Amana Nizones Minichse Yisomim, that a widow is supported from the estate of the heirs. So meaning to say that after she dies, the ksuba supports her. The estate has to support her. That's one of the terms of the ksuba. And all the salary, the work that she does, they get. But the orphans, they're not obligated to bury her. So the ones who inherit her ksuva, i.e. in this case, her husband's family, they're obligated to bury her. So we see from here an explicit statement because Ezuhi Amani Sheish Shnei Yorshin, who is a widow who has two heirs. Havilomar Zu Shomeres Yavam. This is the case of the Shomeres Yavam, where there are two people of competing claims to her estate. And we say explicitly that the ones who get her ksuba, i.e. the dowry she brought in, they're the ones who have to bury her. So that's the way Abai learns it. Rava says, wait, the brother can have an argument that he doesn't need to pay for her burial. Why doesn't the brother who's waiting to do yibum with her, who's waiting to marry her, because his brother died, why doesn't he say, Achani Yoresh? Why doesn't he say, listen, I'm inheriting my brother, the ksuba that I inherit, that's not. So this is what Rashi says, Ksuva Zushani Yoresh. This ksuva that I am inheriting, in common dunyas aviakum. This is not from her the dowry she brings in from her father. And that's real. All what's going on here is the amount of money that my brother promised that he have to pay her. I'm not the one who's inheriting that. My brother is the one who inherited it, and I'm inheriting my brother. I have nothing to do with you. I'm inheriting my brother. Achani Yoresh, Ishto Inani Kover. I'm not bound by what he was bound by to bury you as part of getting the ksuba. I'm bound. I just get to inherit him. So therefore, I have nothing to do with you. I'm inheriting my brother. That's what the brother could say. Amrullah Abaye, no, Abaye says no, the brother can't make that claim. Mishum Tabayin Alav Mishneit Stadim, because we come at him from two directions. Im Achiv Yoresh Yikvoras Ishto. He's saying if he's really inheriting his brother, then he would have to bury his brother's wife. Just like if the wife died while the brother was alive, and even if she didn't bring in anything, he'd have to bury her. So if he's really inheriting his brother, he has his responsibilities. And but if he's not burying his wife, yiting ksuvasa, then he should give her the ksuba back to her family. By the way, so let's say the burial costs more than the ksuba. Maybe he could say that claim that I don't want to do it, and then she can't come at him from two sides. Anyway, so that's what Rava says, that the brother could say, I don't want to pay, basically. The brother has no choice, but he has to pay. Either he's inheriting, or why is he getting the ksuba? Amar way, so Rava said, no, this is what I'm saying. Achani yoresh. I do get to inherit my brother, as ishto enani kover, and I don't want to bury her because imishum ksuva. If you want to say, well, no, it's a stipulation of the ksuba. If I'm getting the ksuba, then I have to bury her. Doesn't matter. Why? Well, nitna ksuba ugavos mechayim. Meaning to say that since the statement literally translates as the ksuba was not meant to collect while he was alive. Meaning to say, while the husband was alive, he didn't yet have to pay the ksuva. And in the ksuva writes, if you get married to another person after you're basically widowed, then you get to take everything that's written here. And so since while the husband was alive, the woman cannot marry somebody else, and this is called midras ksuva, meaning to say that you're expounding upon the words of the ksuva. So the yavam is standing in the initial husband's place. Mean to say that since the husband, while he was alive, he wouldn't have had to pay this part of the ksuba because and so therefore now he's saying I'm in my brother's place, so I wouldn't have to pay this part of the ksuba.
The counter argument to that if he's in his brother's place, his brother would be the husband would be obligated to bury her. I think he undermines his own argument.
Yes, it's a little bit. I
don't know if he said that later. Someone says that, but like if he's claiming to be in the,
he's saying that this ksuba will never be collected while my brother was alive, and so since I'm in his place, I shouldn't have to pay it.
Right, but while his brother was alive and she died, the brother would have to bury her.
Right. You would think that, but he's saying it. But I would never have had to pay it. But right, I agree. So he says, but that's the actual language. The actual language is when you marry somebody else. So therefore, the Gemara says, "Man shamaslei de islay midrash ksuba." Who is the one who says that we expound the language of the ksuba? Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai is the one who says it. Veshaminu Beis Shammai de Amri, and Beis Shammai says no. It's as though she already collected it, because Beis Shammai has this principle. I don't know if they have this in American law, but the principle is shtara omed legavos kigavo dami. That since she has entitled to one day get this asset, it's as though she already collected that asset. And so therefore, since she's already going to collect this asset, therefore we're going to say from here that it's like she collected it, and so therefore he has to pay for her burial. So the Tanan, and how do we prove this idea that if something is waiting to be collected, it's as though he already collected it? The following case from a sota, which is itself an unusual case. The sota is itself really not a great source for these things in general, because the sota is a very unusual law. It's sui generis in the Talmud, but anyway, in the Torah. But anyway, this is the proof from the sota. Let's say sota is sui generis. It's the only case we have an ordeal in the Torah. We test somebody by an ordeal. But anyway, so the text states, we learn in the Mishnah, Mesu ba'alein ad shatu. So a man warns a woman to that she's not allowed to be with him, that she's not allowed to be with somebody, and when he warns her she's not allowed to be with somebody, and then she has to drink the waters of the bitter waters, and only after she drinks those bitter waters can she return with him. So let's say their husbands die before she gave her he drank the water. Beis Shammai omim notos ksuba. Beis Shammai says under those circumstances, notos ksuba that she takes the ksuva o shotos. She still has to drink. Excuse me. Beis Shammai says notos ksuva o shotos. She doesn't drink the bitter waters and she gets her ksuva. Beis Hillel omim o shotos o notos ksuva. Beis Hillel says no. If she doesn't drink. Beis Hillel says if she didn't drink, she doesn't get the ksuba. So Beis Shammai says she gets the ksuba. She doesn't drink anymore because her husband's dead. Beis Hillel says she either drinks or she gets the ksuba.
This is one of those situations where Hillel is more strict than Shammai.
Well, it's not really strict or lenient because there's two people here. So one person's getting the money, one person's losing it. So it's not a question of strict because one person doesn't get it. So Beis Hillel says, "O shotos, o lo notos ksuva." O shotos, how could she drink? She can't drink. The only way she could drink is if the husband brings her to the court, and the husband can't bring her to the court anymore because he's dead. So therefore, what does Beis Hillel say? Shotos lo notos ksuva. But because she doesn't drink anymore, if her husband had died before she was able to drink, she loses the rights to the ksuba. Whereas Beis Shammai says notos ksuba v'lo shotos. Beis Shammai's position was that if her husband died, she gets the ksuba even though she doesn't drink. V'amai, how could she get the ksuba? Isn't it a doubt? Suffix zanai, suffix lo zanai. We're not sure if she committed adultery. If she committed adultery, she wouldn't get the ksuba. She's in a case of ambiguity, and she's coming and she's uprooting the certainty of the claim. The certainty of him having the money of the ksuba. So therefore, for this reason, the Gemara explains, Beis Shammai says, since it's not like it's in her husband's possession. Since she was waiting to collect that money, it's like it's already collected, and it's like it's in her possession. So therefore, she's not a suffix taking it out of a certainty. It's really basically in her possession already. The Gemara says, but doesn't it stay in the ksuva that she gets the money only when it's given to somebody else? It says in the ksuba when you marry somebody else, take what is written here. And so since and that hasn't come because she can't get married, and so therefore how could she collect the ksuba? The Gemara says, no, since she falls in yibum to this other person, it includes the yavam. Yeah.
What does that mean when you marry another? You take what is written for you. That if she marries somebody else, what happens?
And then she gets the principal that's allowed for her from the ksuba payment. There's two aspects of it.
From the first husband.
Yeah, there's two aspects. There's a payout and also an ongoing support. So the ongoing support she gets until she gets married or until she demonstrates she's going to get married. When she gets married, she stops the ongoing support, but she gets the payout payment. So
she doesn't get is that the Malog property or the Zombar seller both?
That's the Tzom Barzel. The Malug property she always gets. That goes back to her family.
Tzom Barzel she doesn't get until she remarries?
Yeah, until she remarries. Until she leaves, or until she demands it. But she has the right to delay it. She's getting an ongoing support, maintenance.
I see. Oh, once she takes the Tzom Barzel, she no longer gets the maintenance. Exactly.
So the Gemara says, so Shalcha Rabu Abaya Biad Rav Shemaya Bar Zera. Is it really the concept that the ksuba, it's as though it was collected while he was alive? Is that really possible? Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Rabbi Abba Amar Sha'alti es Sumchus. Rabbi Abba says, I want to answer Sumchus the following question. Really, he says the question was, Sha'alti es Sumchus, I asked Sumchus the following question. Harot Hashim Korban Nechse Yachid, somebody who wants to sell his brother's assets after his brother died. Kate said, what does he do? Because the concern is he's not allowed to sell it. We said that all of the assets, there's a lien on them to the ksuba, and so therefore he can't sell the assets. So how is he able to sell it? So what does he want to do? Kate said, if he's a Kohen, so he makes a big party. And he gives the wife a lot to drink, and he makes her a big party. And he says, "Can I please have permission to sell the extra assets of your first husband, my brother, so that we could make some more money. And so that he does, but and in Yisrael, and if he's a regular Jew, so he's allowed to remarry her, megarish beget, he'll divorce her, and then he'll pay her the ksuva, and then he can sell the extra, and then yachzir, and then he'll remarry her, and then he can write a regular ksuva, and then he could sell the assets, because now she's a regular wife and not a yavama. A regular wife, you could sell the assets. There's just a lien on it, but you could sell the assets. Now 81b at the top. And if you're of the position, and if you're of the position, like Abaye says, that the ksuba is really collected while he's still alive, well, that you could collect it. So we have a very simple solution. What you do is you say, listen, the brother could just designate for her, this is the amount of money for your ksuba, and it's as though you collected it, and then the rest he'll sell. And so why does he have to go through this shenanigans? The Gemara says, well, why are you asking a question on Abaye? It's really a question on our Mishnah. And that's exactly what the solution said. Our Mishnah said you can't designate it while it's alive. We said in the Mishnah yesterday, you can't say, here's your ksuba, it's on the table, meaning you can't pay her off under those circumstances. Rather, all the assets, there's a lien on them. You can't pay her off. So why can't you pay her off? So Gemara says, there is just giving advice. Because if you're not going to do this, because if you're not going to say that it's just good advice, what about the concluding clause where it states, a person can't say to his wife, why can't you say to a regular woman, in not a case of Yibam, here's all your money on the table and pay her off? The reason why you can't, so what's the reason why you can't do that? Well, a person can't say that, but all things are an asset. But what Ibai is a bunei, would you say that he also can't sell it in that case? Of course, by a regular spouse, you're allowed to sell it. It's just the Yibam situation, you can't sell the assets. So there we're just giving good advice, and we'll see why that you don't want to designate the specific suba for the wife. So a specific money for the wife. So that's the reason. Same too here by the Yavam. So the Rabbi Abba kasha. So it's a question on Rabbi Abba, because the Rabbi Abba says that you can't designate a specific assets for the ksuva of the Yavama to sell it, but why not? It could be accepted while it's alive. So the Rabbi says the Rabbi Abba nominal kasha. Rabbi Abba is also not difficult, and the reason is mishum eva. Because if he's going to start designating, says, this is your ksuba to pay you off, that's going to arouse hatred in the marriage. It's going to cause tension. Nobody likes to think about those situations. You don't want to talk about it too much, even though you have to be prepared. You don't want to start focusing too much. It's awkward. So it's awkward. So they don't want to do it. There was a man who a woman felt him in Yibam, Pumpadisa. And this was in the place called Pumpadisa. So we know that even though there are multiple brothers who do Yibum, the woman falls to Yibum, any of the brothers could do Yibum, but the oldest brother is the one who has the first rights to it. But the other brothers can disqualify her from Yibum by giving her a divorce. That just disqualifies the older brother from doing Yibum. This was a law we learned in Yevamos. So in this case, the younger brother was trying to stop the Yibum from taking place.
It's not complete, right?
It's not complete, but it's enough to stop the older brother from doing Yibum. So he wants to stop him from doing Yibum because he wants, presumably the younger brother thinks, if he does it, he's going to get the assets of the deceased brother, and I don't want him to get the whole estate, so he's trying to stop it. So the younger brother wanted to disqualify her, wanted to give her a get, and thereby disqualify her from Yibum. So the older brother said, what's the reason why you want to do this? Mishum nifse, because you want to get the assets of her older brother. And if you stop the Yibum, we're going to both equally inherit the brother. But if I do Yibam, I'm going to be the only one to inherit him. So if that's the case, I'll make you a deal. I'll split the assets with you. I really just want to marry her because I think it's the right thing to do. I'm not money hungry. I'll make a deal with you that will split these assets between us, and then you won't lose anything. Amar Rav Yosef, well, you can't do that. He actually can't do that. Why? Because Kivan the Amar Rabbanan lo Lisbon, because you're actually not allowed to sell those assets of the older brother until her ksuba is paid off. Since the rabbi said you're not allowed to sell it, even though they made this deal, once he does the yibum with the wife, the deal is off. And so therefore he can renege on that deal. The younger brother is out. We learned in the Brisa, somebody who died and left behind his wife to do yibum, and he left assets worth 100. Even though the ksuba is 1/100th of that, well, yimkar, he's not allowed to sell anything. All the assets are guaranteed to the ksuba, so you can't sell anything of the estate. Basically, this is the way they protected the wife. You can't sell anything of that estate. So basically, so it doesn't help. It doesn't help. But now the Gemara is saying, okay, there's one thing is saying you can't do it initially, but even after the fact, was it not a good sale? So that's what the Gemara is now against the Rav Yosef. So Abai says to his Rav Yosef, meaning where the rabbi said you can't sell anything of that estate, even though it's sold, it wouldn't be valid. But what about the following case? So Atanam Beis Shammai says Timkor, Beis Hillel Omrim Lo Timkor. Beis Shammai says that this is a case we said where if the woman was betrothed and she inherited assets, Beis Shammai said you can't sell. Well, ideally, initially, we had this in the Mishnah on a week ago or a little less than a week ago. And Beis Hillel says, Lo Timkor. Beis Hillel says you can't do it, but both admit that if she got it as a betrothed woman, even Beis Hillel admit that once he showed that it's sold. So we see that after the fact, it should be okay, a valid sale here. So Shalchu Kamei Rav Chanina bar Papi, Shalchu Ked Rav Yosef, and he says like Rav Yosef that the sale is invalidated. Amar Abaye says, I'm not so impressed with that answer. Rav Chanina bar Papi Kipa Talei, he has to attach earrings to it, meaning to say, you can't just give me a ruling. I need support for your ruling. I mean, I guess like a judge today could just issue a ruling, doesn't have to give support. But then another judge would say, I don't understand how he made it. If you want the ruling to be binding in other circumstances, the judges need to see the context. So he says, I don't understand. How did he get that? Also, it's possible, very possible, he doesn't give the context, then maybe the transmission of the ruling was incorrect. We see that there's a lot of mistakes sometimes happen, and maybe he got it all wrong. So he says, I don't trust that answer. So rules like Abai, who says that after the fact it was a valid ruling. The Amar bar Rav Yosef, and so they sent the message for Rav Menyumi bar Rav Nachmi. So he sent the answer like Abaye, and then Rav Menyumi said, and if you're going to give to me a reason, like Rav Yosef. So if you're going to give me a reasoning like Rav Yosef, then send it to me. Send it to me the reasoning. Shana Tova Ben. So you have to explain to me the reasoning. So Rav Yosef, I'll give you a reason why the sale is not valid even after the fact. Why this deal is off. The younger brother is out. Nafak Rav Yosef Dak va'ashkach. He found the Brisa. What does the Brisa say? The Tanya Reichal Yenocha ba'achav. So let's say we had the following circumstance. Let's say Ruvain is making a claim against his brother. He says his brother owes him $100, right? Reuben makes a claim against his brother. Reuben says, Shimon owes me $100. Mace. Then Reuben dies. So Shimon still owes him the $100, but Reuben has died. V'niach shomeres yavam. So now Reuben's wife is a widow, and she falls to marriage with Shimon, right? And now Lo Yomar, Shimon can't say, Hol Shani Yoresh Hechazakti. Since I am inheriting Reuven, really the debt is mine, and so it's like I have it. Ela Motziin Miyavam V'Yekach Ben Karaka V'Uachol Paris. We say no. We take that $100 that Shimon owes Reuven, we put it into real estate and give the principal, we make the principal stand there like she's in charge of all the assets, and we say that you only get the fruits of that because so we say under those circumstances not sufficient. And so that's proof that the sale, even after it was done, is not valid because we rip up the money from Shimon even though he inherited Reuven. So Amalei Abai says that case is different. Dilma the Tavilei Abduei, meaning to say, maybe we're just doing him a favor. We don't want him to waste the money. Maybe it's not proof. So maybe it's just like giving him good advice. Put it in real estate. So Rabbi Yosef says, that's a very terrible answer. We force him to do this. And you're saying we're just doing him a favor. So Rabbi Yosef says this proves that the sale after the fact was not valid. The deal after the fact is not valid. They really are protecting the rights of the widow. He says, actually, this teaching is off. This tradition is off. It was not a teaching. My timer. What's the reason why we don't believe it? And maybe the reason why we don't, this Mishnah was incorrect is because this asset was a movable object, and movables, there's no lien on it. The lien can only be on real estate. No, maybe it's like Rameir says that there is a lien even on movable objects. That's Rameir's position. Well, maybe because he could say to the woman, the widow, actually, you have no claim against this money. You can't make the claim because I didn't lend you the money. I lent it to your husband, and so therefore you have no claim on it. No, it can't be. Dilma Rabbi Nasani. That you could say that's not possible because Rabbi Nassan says our prices should be like Rabbi Nassan. Could be like Rabbi Nassan. He says, how do we know that if Reuven owes Shimon $100 and Shimon owes Levi $100, Levi could just go and take the money straight from Reuven? That's called the Shibuda de Rabbi Nassan. You can go straight to the initial person because so therefore she does have a claim. The widow does have a claim straight against her now husband Shimon. So the Gemara says, okay, yeah, so yeah, but we can't have both stringencies. Both stringencies that we do a lien even on movable objects, and the shibuda de Rabbi Nassan that you can go straight to the third party to collect your money. So Amarava Imkain Hainu Shamana Leil Amar Zuain a Mishnah V'lo Yadani Mahi. So that's why Abai says the reason this is not a Mishnah. I don't understand why this Mishnah, why they're doing two stringencies. So basically, Abai rejects Rabbi Yosef's proof, and he says that after the fact it is a valid sale, that if the brothers made this deal, or Rabbi Yosef says it's not. All right, that's it. I'll take any questions if anybody has any questions. A little confusing today, but we did the best we could and keep on going more and more and more. Shkoyach.